I believe that Obama had bought time for the US dollar, and the time is now up. Whether it was Obama or it was Romney, time for the US dollar is up. And so the immediate future is one in which we should not only be looking carefully at signs of a military attack on Iran, on Pakistan, on Syria, but in addition to that, that we monitor very carefully the likelihood of a monetary collapse that will bring the monetary system to an end and have it replaced with a new monetary system. Dr. Muhammad Mahathir, the former Prime Minister of Malaysia, recently wrote a piece on his blog. I don't know why it's called a blog. Where did that word come from, blog?
I've no idea.
Yeah. On the subject of quantitative easing. Quantitative easing. QE. There was QE1, QE2, QE3. And he explained in his simple language, with his tongue in his cheek, that you no longer have to print paper money. It's a cumbersome process to print $7 trillion. What a lot of paper, what a lot of ink, printing presses, and then the armored cars and the security guards to transport all of that. You're printing paper and making money, which is bogus, which is fraudulent, but also cumbersome. And what they're doing now, he says, the Western world is taking the rest of mankind for a ride, for the last ride really, monetary ride. That in 2008, coming up to now to 2012, they stage all of this monetary fiction about banking system being in crisis, with stories stranger than the story of the cow that jumped over the moon, so that the Federal Reserve could just write a check. That's all. You just write a check for the $7 trillion. You don't have to print the paper anymore and have that sent to the banks. When it reaches the banks, it is still not yet money. No. It is when the banks lend that and people borrow it and there's a legal contract to return, then it becomes money, part of the monetary system. And so what the US government did in handing over huge sums of money to the banking system, in QE1, QE2, and now QE3 around the corner, was massively fraudulent and bogus. And it is in the nature of the world created by Almighty God. The lies cannot remain forever. That which is false cannot exist forever. Must one day collapse. And we are now on the verge of that collapse. There's no way under the sun that the US dollar can survive. It's gone, it's finished. We're just waiting for the moment. And that moment could now come after the elections, when some act of terrorism or war takes place. Like an Israeli first strike on Iran, the use of tactical nuclear weapon. And Wall Street will then take over. And that's the end of the US dollar. The sad thing that I have to share with you, Maurice, is that my critics are so fierce in criticizing me and using the basest language that they can find against me, plastering it on the internet, and proclaiming themselves to be the most pious and the most rightly guided Muslims. And yet their scholarship, that Islamic scholarship out there, up to this day cannot recognize the monetary system of paper, plastic, and electronic money to be bogus and fraudulent and haram, and to be a carefully constructed vehicle of exploitation and oppression and enslavement of the masses. I don't know what else I can do. I've been working in the field for so long to try to teach and to explain my Muslim people, the scholars of Islam. But I failed. I have failed. We have a conference coming up on the 26th and 27th of November, and I was hoping that you would be able to attend it on riba, usury, borrowing and lending on interest. And in that conference, we're going to be spending a lot of time on silver. That maybe silver has a more important role to play at this time in monetary history than gold. But without the support of the scholars of Islam, we're just whistling in the wind. So yes, I want to share with you my view that we are on the verge of the collapse of the monetary system. Now the elections are over. And also, sorrowfully so, that the world of Islam is unprepared to respond appropriately. Our market is one which does not discriminate between the Muslim and the non-Muslim. All come into the market as equals. And if a Jew in our market is selling at a better price, demonstrates greater integrity, and delivers superior quality of goods, we buy from the Jew in preference to our Muslim brother. Because there's no brotherhood in trade. Trade must be free. Even when war takes place, we do not use trade as a weapon of war. Economic sanctions is something filthy in Islamic ethics. Trade war is something filthy in Islamic business ethics. You are allowed to trade with the enemy while war is going on the condition that you do not trade in weapons of war. Trade is supposed to benefit mutually, all parties involved in trade. So we are a people who insist upon establishing and maintaining a free and a fair market. But that's not a fair market where money is corrupted and paper becomes money, bogus and fraudulent. And so we are asking to return to integrity of money. That money must have integrity. Money must have intrinsic value. And if only we could get the scholars of Islam to wake up to the massive fraud is taking place. But they hurl all kind of slander against me. They use vicious language against me. They call me all kinds of names. And their scholars have eyes and cannot see, have ears and cannot hear, have hearts and yet do not understand. They're worse than cattle. That's the state of the world of Islam today.
None of us can get along. In the sanctions you mentioned, there's economic sanctions being imposed on Syria now. It's a good example. And now there's a humanitarian crisis. I mean, the sanctions actually hurt the poor people. And
It
they're
did
used
in Iraq.
in
It
Iraq.
did in Iraq. The world knows about it. The people who are administering the sanctions, they themselves knew it, and they spoke about it. But that did not affect the bloodthirsty Zionists who were only after the blood of the people. It is something shameful. It is disgraceful to use trade as a weapon. Islam, the religion, will never disgrace itself the way modern Western civilization has disgraced itself in using trade as a weapon and in imposing economic sanctions. They are a absolutely shameless people with no morals at all who could impose economic sanctions.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a very satisfied man. I've had a very good education here. I'm not sure where to go, where to take it farther, though.
Well, I think we've had enough for tonight. Yes.
I thank you so much.
You're welcome.